The first night, I didn't sleep. The room smelled of bleach and soft soap, and the walls were too white, so white they felt like they might swallow me whole. I sat on the edge of the bed with my hands in my lap, listening to the sounds outside my door, wheels rolling, voices calling, someone coughing down the hall. Everything felt unfamiliar, too quiet, too clean. My name is Edna. I am 78 years old, and this is my new home. They call it a care home, Maple Grove Residence. The name sounds lovely, doesn't it? Like a place with trees, sunlight, laughter. But the only maple I've seen is a small, lonely one outside the dining room window, its leaves pressed against the glass like it wants to get out too. The nurse told me my daughter chose this place because it's close to her work. I smiled when she said that. Smiling is easier than explaining how your heart feels when your life suddenly fits into one small room. Once I had a house. A real house with yellow curtains in the kitchen and a hallway that sang with every footstep on its creaky floorboards. My husband, Thomas, built it with his own hands. He was a quiet man, always fixing something. I loved him more than I ever told him. When he died 8 years ago, I found him still holding his glasses. I sat beside him for hours, not crying, just holding his hand, unwilling to let go. After the funeral, the house changed. It grew bigger, colder, emptier. The sounds disappeared, and silence took their place. For a while, I managed. I cooked small meals, talked to the television, and told the corner shop cashier too many stories. But walking became harder. The stairs grew steeper. My hands sometimes forgot what my brain wanted them to do. And then one morning, I fell in the bathroom and couldn't get up for almost an hour. That was when Lucy, my daughter, decided it was time. She sat me down as if I were made of porcelain and said I needed proper care. I told her I was fine. I wasn't, but I wanted to believe I was. The look she gave me was full of love and finality. She had already made up her mind. And so, here I am. My new room has a single bed, a wardrobe, and a round table with 2 chairs. One chair is always empty. There's a calendar on the wall, and every night I cross off a square with a red pen. I don't know why, it just makes me feel like time is still moving, like I'm still part of something. On my second morning, Nurse Janet brought me tea. She's young and brisk, always rushing, but always smiling. "Anything else you need, Edna?" she asked. I wanted to say, yes. I need my house back. I need my life. I need my daughter to visit more than once a month. But I only said, no, thank you. When she left, I stared at the chipped green cup on my table. Something about that little imperfection made me feel less alone. A week later, someone unexpected walked into my life. Her name was Ellie, 10 years old, bright-eyed, her curly hair bouncing like laughter. She came every Thursday after school with her mother, who worked in the office. Ellie didn't visit anyone in particular. She just wandered the halls, talking to whoever would listen. That first Thursday, she popped her head into my room without knocking. "Hi," she chirped. Are you busy? I blinked. No, not really. She walked right in with a bag of colored pencils and paper. I'm Ellie. My mom works here. Do you want to draw something with me? I hadn't drawn anything in decades, but her grin was contagious. So I said yes. We sat at my small round table and she told me, "Draw something from your memory." I hesitated, then slowly began sketching my old kitchen, the yellow curtains, the kettle on the stove, the clock that never worked. My hands trembled, but the lines appeared. Ellie drew a cat wearing sunglasses. When she left, she said, "It'll come next Thursday too." I smiled and nodded. I'd like that. That night, I found a floral notebook in my drawer. It was blank, waiting. I wrote one line. Today, a little girl reminded me that I am still here, every night since I've written something. Just small things, feelings, flashes of memory, the sound of rain, the smell of bread, the warmth of a voice. My notebook became a quiet friend, one that never interrupts. Some days are harder than others. Sometimes I wake up and, for a moment, forget where I am. I listen for the mass footsteps in the hall, and then I remember. There are others here, Mrs. Patel, who hums old songs, and Mr. Brooks, who wears a tie every day just to go sit in the lounge. We're all ghosts of ourselves in some way, walking slowly through our own yesterdays. Lucy visits once a month. She brings flowers, white lilies, my favorite. We sit in the garden and talk about her children and her job. I listen more than I speak. Before she leaves, she always says, "You're doing well, Mom." I want to say, asterisk and lonely, Lucy. I miss you, asterisk, but I never do. Instead, after she leaves, I sit in the garden alone, watching a robin hop between the flower beds, wishing someone were beside me. That night I wrote, the wind was soft, but the silence was softer. Weeks passed like slow clouds. Some days were warm with sunlight, others hung gray and heavy. But every Thursday Ellie came. She filled my room with color, laughter, and stories. One week she brought a voice recorder. "We're doing a school project," she said. "I have to record a story from someone older. You're the most interesting person I know." "Me?" I asked, surprised. "Yes, you." So I told her about the summer of 1967, about working in a seaside library and meeting Thomas, the quiet man who borrowed gardening books, but never read them, just so he could see me. I told her about the park bench where he first held my hand, and the love note he hid in a poetry book. When I finished, Ellie whispered, "That's the best story I've ever heard." Later, she told me her class listened to it and clapped. That night I wrote, "Even old hearts can tell new stories." Ellie kept visiting, and soon she brought her friends. The children's questions filled the air with life. Did you ever fly on a plane? What was your favorite toy? Did you ever break a rule? They made me laugh until my sides ached. They didn't see wrinkles or age, they saw stories. They made me feel whole again. Nurse Janet said, "You're the sunshine around here now." Maybe I just needed someone to listen. One rainy afternoon, Ellie came in quietly. "Can I tell you something private?" she asked. Her parents were fighting. She didn't know what would happen. I took her hand and told her about hiding behind the kitchen door when my parents argued, about fear and sadness, and how talking always helped. "You can always talk to me," I said. That night, my entry was simple. Today, I was useful. Then came the phone call from Lucy. A real one, not rushed, not distracted. She said she felt guilty for putting me here. I thought it was best, but I didn't realize how lonely you must have felt. I told her I understood, that I forgave her. She said, "Can I visit Sunday? The kids want to see you too." My hands shook as I held the phone. "Of course," I said softly. "I'd love that." When Sunday came, the garden was full of sunlight. Lucy arrived with James and Ava, my grandchildren. They hugged me so tightly my heart nearly burst. We talked for hours, laughed, shared stories. When Ava asked who Ellie was, I smiled. A special girl who saved me from silence. That night I wrote, "They came not because they had to, but because they wanted to." That makes all the difference. The weeks moved gently after that. Lucy visited often. The silence in my room grew kinder. Ellie told me she was performing my story at her school's memory show. When I saw her on stage, reading about Thomas and our seaside library, I cried. Not because I was sad, but because, for the first time in years, I felt seen. Truly seen. That night I wrote, "I thought my life was fading, but today it shined." Seasons changed. Ellie made a book called The Story of Edna, full of drawings and words from our talks. Lucy surprised me one day. "We're fixing the guest room," she said, "so you can stay with us for the holidays." I was speechless. "Yes," I finally whispered. "I'd love that." When I left the care home, the staff hugged me like family. Ellie ran down the hall and gave me her finished book. On the last page she'd written, "To Miss Edna, who showed me that even old hearts carry young stories." At Lucy's house, the scent of cinnamon and pine filled the air. The children had made a banner that said, "Welcome home. Grandma.it wasn't my old house, but it felt like belonging." We baked cookies, told stories, laughed until our faces hurt. That night I wrote, "Maybe we don't disappear. Maybe we live on in the people who remember our stories." I never went back to Maple Grove. Lucy asked me to stay longer. "Well, make it work," she said, and I did. Ellie visited often, proudly wearing a metal shed won for her storytelling project about me. "It's ours," she said. I gave her a small silver heart necklace that Thomas had once given me. "Promise me," I told her, "you'll carry love and stories wherever you go." She smiled. "I promise." In my final notebook entry, I wrote, "Today I passed something on, a story, a heart, a hope." Time passed softly after that. My hands grew slower, my steps smaller. But I wasn't afraid. I had lived, loved, and been remembered. When my family sat beside me one quiet afternoon, Lucy, Ava, James, and Ellie, I looked at them all and whispered, I'm not alone anymore.